One question that I'm often asking people and companies and myself to help center around the goal at hand is, what are we optimizing for? What are we optimizing this task or this venture or this project for? Are we optimizing it for financials? Are we optimizing it for reach or awareness? Essentially, what is our highest priority objective at hand here? And one area where I think more businesses should be optimizing for, and an area where I typically butt heads with leaders of organizations that I get into, is optimizing for human connection and human experience. I'll share two specific examples of times that this happened in the past, but before I do, I wanted to highlight why leaders often push back for optimizing for human experience and human connection. One of them being, it's often difficult to optimize for efficiency and for human connection. And if it's difficult to optimize for efficiency, it's likely going to be difficult to optimize for profit. So if an organization is optimizing for efficiency and profit in absolutely every single area of the business, there will likely be an immediate pushback to optimizing for human experience or human connection if it's in the face of efficiency or profit. Now, as an operations person, I think optimizing for profit is a necessity from a business level, but I often argue that optimizing for human connection and experience in specific areas will actually end up maximizing and optimizing profit in the end. And the second reason that leaders often push back is that it's difficult to tie human connection and experience back to specific metrics of the business. So whether it's going to be revenue increases or lower churn or whatever it may be, first of all, those are often lagging indicators. And so those aren't going to be the first things that happen within a campaign or after you embark on a venture or whatever it may be. Those often are things that will happen later as opposed to leading indicators. But secondly, even if they're lagging, it can be difficult to track a really valuable one-on-one conversation or going above and beyond for a certain customer. It can be difficult to track that specifically back to a purchase. Two different examples of this that recently manifested in my world. About a year and a half ago, we were offering a free book around a book launch that I was managing. The book had already launched at this point, and we were sending out to our email list, asking folks to respond why they wanted a copy of the book for free. And a lot of the responses were open and honest and vulnerable, and people were sharing challenges in their lives that this book would help them overcome, or recent challenges that they had just overcome, and why they're able to be in a headspace again where they can actually absorb the contents of this book. And certainly not every single response was like that, but there were a lot like that. And so I ended up taking the time to respond to every single person individually, did leverage canned responses because there was a lot of similarities in what I was responding. But I did individualize each and every message. There was probably about 70 or so of them. And this is a moment where the CEO of that company was really pushing me to automate the messages that we were sending out. And it took me a total of an hour and 18 minutes to send all of these messages. And out of the 70 people who emailed us, 26 of them ended up replying to my reply, expressing a sentiment of, wow, I can't believe, a real person actually read this, or holy shit, thanks for actually caring about me and what I had to say. And even if I used a canned response, I ensure that I injected some level of personability into the email and acknowledge something that they said specifically. Now, a lot of this is opinion versus opinion. From the CEO's perspective, even though I'm able to show, look, we had approaching 50%, not quite, but approaching 50% of people ended up replying to my reply, expressing appreciation and gratitude. And I think, that in and of itself made this hour and 18 minutes impactful and worth it. And I could have taken longer by not leveraging canned responses, but I was automating what I felt wasn't impactful to the situation and was present in the areas that I felt were. And to this day, that CEO would probably say it was not worth it. And I would stand on my opinion and say it's worth it every single time. Second example, I recently followed a business coach who was recommended to me, and was recommended to me because he used a very human-centered approach to business, a very life-centered approach to business, somebody who preaches building a business for the life that you want to support, and taking care of every single customer that you have, and just really resonated with me and how I like to build businesses. And after I followed him, he sent me a DM with a video and a little text. It was awesome. It was clearly automated. And in that DM, he asked a question, let me know my thoughts, or let me know what I'm up to, or something like that. And so I just let him know, hey, I'm really looking forward to following your work and excited that I was recommended to you for, your life and sort of human-centered approach to business. And the off chance of, coming off like a fool, you could take some small steps to personalize this outreach and be more in line with the values that you preach to others. And of course, an immediate counter thought in my eyes as well, that takes a shit ton of time. And how are you going to personalize? How are you going to add, everyone's name into the message or into the video or whatever it may be? And my response is, you're right. If we were optimizing solely for efficiency or solely for let's spend the least amount of time on this or let's make the most amount of money from this funnel or whatever it may be, then you wouldn't take that step to personalize. But there's ways to systemize a process where the output is personalized and it doesn't take as much time as you just manually doing all the work. This person never replied to me and I did end up unfollowing them just due to too many mismatches in the values that I followed them for, even in this brief interaction, versus the values that I was seeing in that interaction. But I can't help but think, and I don't know, of course, the exact situation, why this person doesn't opt to personalize their DMs when they are portraying a business that's very human-centered. But I can't help but wonder if they opened their mind a little bit to not completely optimizing for efficiency and profitability at every single turn of the business, that they could open their eyes to a system that actually isn't that much more work, but has a massive outcome in terms of the impact.